Tapping in.
Are we live?
Yo, if you do not know, in the background of everything that is happening at the same time, we've been watching closely and giving a close eye to the situation with WNBA star Brittney Griner, who is currently incarcerated in Russia. She has pled guilty to possession of a controlled substance and is now potentially facing 10 years in prison. When we describe that story in that order, it almost seems like the due justice taking its course. But the deeper we dive into the story, we understand that Brittney Griner is almost undoubtedly unjustly held at the moment, and the intentions of being able to keep her and what they're throwing on top of her is something that's not new. It's something that happens often to folks in the US, to American folks who are traveling with Russia, especially when there's a political agenda attached to it. Don't get it wrong. Brittney Griner right now is being arrested in Russia for a political issue. Yo, I cannot say that enough. The star of women's basketball, LeBron James of women's basketball right now is in a prison in Russia for 0.2 grams of CBD oil and is now facing 10 years.
I love that you said, gotta get it right. So in the spirit of getting it right, Brittney Griner is a 7-time WNBA All-Star, a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, and the first openly gay athlete to sign an endorsement contract by Nike. So Brittney Griner means a lot to a lot of people. And that's particularly important in the context of this conversation because a lot of the voices in support of Brittney are saying that if she was an NBA star, the reaction would be different. The story would have gotten more coverage and more would be done to secure her freedom, right? Like my brother said, she's one of the most dominant players in the WNBA, especially on the offensive end of the court. And this completely ties in, like it's so tied into that issue of the NBA versus the WNBA and that gap in pay. Because the reason she was in Russia was that a lot of players fly overseas to play to supplement their income, right? So this is a very difficult situation that touches on a lot of topics. And my number one thing off the top is, just love for Brittney, support for Brittney. Being locked up abroad is a terrible situation, no matter where abroad happens to be. And so, yeah, I really feel for her. As somebody who enjoys traveling, as somebody who will partake of a variety of different vices from time to time. This is really.
I'm taking drugs.
Hey, bro. Hey, living my truth is what I'm doing. All right, but as I think about this, I'll be honest and say, and vulnerable, and say that this is really scary, right? Because this just shows what a government that is. You don't even got to go all the way to corruption, but that has a specific agenda. Will go to the lengths and how far they will inconvenience a person or put their safety in danger. So, like you said, man, it seems disproportionate to the amount of contraband that they found on a person. They hitting her with large scale drug trafficking for that amount of oil, which seems overblown. And so these are some of the things, like you said, 10-year prison sentence that really make this stand out as, a miscarriage of justice.
Yes. And the quick conversation, and I think we spelled Griner wrong there, Mr. Producer. I think we must get E there, so my ODC. What? My OTP. My OTP. My POP will not allow me to move past it.
I think it's right. I think he got it right, actually. I think he got it right.
Griner?
Nah, I think it's GRI. But we could switch it up to exclamation point instead of a question mark, though. You know what I'm
Hey
saying?
y'all, this just in. Zwe is still an idiot. So with specifically when it comes to an
I love it.
shout out our YouTube audience, man. Shout out our YouTube audience. Shout out our producer, man. He makes this show. He makes this show exactly what it is. You are right. And with Brittney Griner, man, I think the quick conversation for us to be able to run to is to be able to say, hey, she's a black woman and we don't care about black women, etc., etc., etc. That is not an incorrect fact, but it also is quite important to take the full totality of what is happening from a political perspective and incorporate that into what the situation is with Brittney Griner. This is not ASAP Rocky who's in Sweden. This is a very different situation from this. As we know, Russia right now is invading Ukraine and is in a full-out war. There are sanctions that are happening. There's a lot of political game that is happening right now. A great book, if you want to really be able to understand the interworkings of how government espionage interwork in the background, is a book called the economic hitman. The economic hitman. It's a fantastic book, and it speaks about some of these tactics that governments will employ, such as arresting somebody at an airport, throwing false charges on them, and then using them as a bargaining chip for other people that have been arrested. And such is the case with Brittney Griner. It's so hot, bro. I had to take my glasses off, bro. It is that hot in the UK at the moment. It is
Every
that
layer,
hot.
every layer counts.
Dude, I'm about to take this shirt off, and I want to show off these new eyebrows. You know what I'm saying? But
New
that being said,
eyebrows is crazy, son.
I know. I just got them too. What you think? Ain't they shapely? Ain't
Yo, I don't
shapely?
even know what that means.
Confessions of an Economic Hitman is the name of the book. Incredible book. Shout out our producer again. Who they're trying to swap Brittney Griner out for is none other than the Merchant of Death.
Bruh. Let's see.
Yo,
Again,
th-
go ahead.
there's nothing funny about this. But if I'm in prison in Russia and they're like, all right, man, look, they want to do a quick swap with you and somebody else. All right, cool. Who they want to swap me out with? The Merchant of Death. What? Nigga, they never gonna swap me for that.
For sure. Yeah, this it would be hard to justify. It would be it would be hard to justify, you know. She didn't, and that goes back to the amount of contraband that she was caught with. She wasn't kingpinning it, you know what I mean? She wasn't kingpinning it all the way to Russia. It's a very small amount of weed, and probably not worth an international assassin. But we're in this position where, like, I love that you brought the context of what's going on in Russia, right? Because she arrived a week before the invasion of Ukraine. So her detention very quickly became a political bargaining chip. And that's for everybody in the back. You know, if you was reading the story and you took it like just at face value, like she had drugs, they don't like drugs, they hold her for drugs. It gets don't it get a little murky when they say, but you know, you do have Victor, and if you were to let him go, we might be able to free Brittney. You know what I mean? It's shady. So definitely dive into that economic hitman. So close to home with the Merchant of Death thing. Like, there's a theme here. There's a joke there. I'm trying to tie it together. I love that you brought in ASAP Rocky. We can't, just like Elon Musk, we can never get away from Trump too far, man. People are saying that, using this as an opportunity to say that if Biden wasn't in office, if Trump was in office, he would have been able to get her back like he did with ASAP, like he did with the UCLA basketball team who was accused of shoplifting, including the youngest Ball. Is it LiAngelo? I think they caught LiAngelo Ball over there trying to steal some sunglasses. Trump hollered at the people in China and got him back. ASAP, on the other hand, said Trump probably made it worse. So he's very good at taking credit, if nothing else. And it's just a reminder, man, of how messy we are politically. What a situation, like, internationally, the stage is mad unstable, especially when you've got egomaniacal people in power like Putin or Trump or Boris Johnson. So this story, in so many ways, just like really hit home with me and was a reminder that how much stuff is messed up and how quickly things can go left. So be careful. Be careful when you're traveling. Be careful with how you're moving. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what other points you wanted to make. I was gonna give people a little PSA about moving with weed because it's it's very.
And again,
You gotta know
it
your
wasn't
rules.
weed. It was CBD oil. It was CBD oil. But please, Miles, share on our very public platform. How do you move drugs internationally?
Yeah, small YU, small YU. How do you out there or anyone? And it's not really, and I don't want to give you a step by step guide on moving drugs internationally, but for anybody out there, I would like to just, especially for our U.S. listeners, right, where weed is becoming legal, right, and you might not be sure what you're allowed to do or how you're allowed to move around with it. First of all, you can't fly state to state, even between states where weed is legal in both states, because weed is still governed by federal law, which means that the interstate transportation of it is a crime in itself. So don't bring weed from one state to any other state. Don't do that. And don't say that you got your weed from another state because you can't do that. All right? That's rule number one. Rule number two, TSA's primary concern is not marijuana. You can go on the TSA website and they say that they do not look for illegal drugs, period, right? But if that dog catch you or that machine catch you, they have to report it to law enforcement. So if you're moving through the airport, know that TSA they not trying to catch you, but if you get caught and if that dog bark at you, it's on you. They have to report it to the police, and it's up to the police what they do. So you're gonna end up dealing with the police anyway. It ain't gonna be no you gotta throw this away. Nah, they gotta report it, right?
You good, but it can go through.
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
not how it goes down.
And then the last thing I'll add is that it don't matter if you have a medical marijuana license. The TSA finds the weed. They contact the police. They do not have any ability or any inclination to verify your medical, your license. So can't bring weed nowhere. Can't bring it across state lines. And yeah, at the risk of being accused of telling people how to move drugs across internationally, man, this podcast is about information. It's about people. And so people like weed, man, it's being legalized across the state. So if you just be safe with it, that's all I'm saying.
Even CBD oil, because that's what she was caught with, is a CBD vape. So it wasn't even like the actual plant itself. It was just the oil, and that's what she's being charged with. So again, listen, if you're traveling through Dubai and you're a person of color, they're gonna get all up in that bag. Okay, I'm telling you this as from my experience. There's some countries that you can travel through, and maybe you might be able to hide a little something, or maybe you've forgotten a little something, and you can sneak it through. Listen, if you're going through the Dubai International Airport and you're a person of color, they're getting up in that bag. If you're going through Amsterdam, not Amsterdam Airport, if you're going through Frankfurt Airport, they're getting all up in that bag. If you're going through pretty much any place that might not like people of color, they getting all up in that bag. And when I say all up in that bag, bro, I am talking all up in that bag. So move wisely, move carefully, and yeah, man, stay informed.
Big facts. Big facts. You know, this is really unfair, really unjust, really messed up what's happening to Brittney. But if we can take anything from it, take it as a teachable moment. That it's just not worth it. That you never know how far left the situation can go. Zoe was pointing out a whole bunch of airports. I think the bottom line is you can't take it with you internationally. Here in the U.S., you can have CBD that has no more than 0.3% THC. But you got to decide, make your own decision about how comfortable you are moving around. Yeah, thumbs down, man. Boo.
Boo.
But yeah, teachable moment, and free Brittney Griner, yo.
I don't even like saying that's a teachable moment, but I do agree. Free Brittney Griner is definitely going to change the way I move through airports. It's summertime, so people are traveling and people are moving about. Please be safe, y'all. Please be safe. If you are traveling, please understand that there are rules and regulations in some places. Be knowledgeable of those things and just get your drugs the old school way, man. Walk around, look for white folks with dreadlocks, ask them for some, and they're going to probably have it.
You giving them gems. You know a little something too. See, it ain't just me, yo. It ain't just me. But yeah, it's it's that's it's a messy situation. I had one more thing I wanted to say. Oh yeah, shout out to the WNBA, man. You know, I started this off by saying that a lot of people are saying that this would be handled differently if it was an NBA player, and maybe that's true. And so I want to focus on the positivity of saying that the WNBA is lit. Actually, my dad and my grandma, no, my granddad and my mom just went to a Sky game. You know what I'm saying? WNBA champions, Chicago. You already know what it is. But they had a really good time there. I was watching some WNBA over the July 4th weekend, and I haven't been a watcher up until now. So that more media focus, the more that it's spoken about, the more that these names become household names, and the more that that pressure can be applied in a real way. So if you are upset and you want to support Brittney, support the WNBA. Keep following this story, and that's how we're gonna keep it moving. We'll keep you updated all the way live. Does this thing, man.